the AC Norman.
Welcome to our Thursday live stream where we will continue our discussion about search engine optimization. 2 weeks ago, we began the discussion and we talked about a lot of on-page search engine optimization. So if you're just catching up with us, as this is the first one, you're going to want to go back to the one that we did 2 weeks ago, where we talked about on-page SEO. Some of the things we talked about were title tags and meta descriptions, header tags. We actually did not talk about content. We're saving that. URL structure. We're going to talk about canonical URLs today. We talked about internal links and content structure. These are all very important things, probably the most important things that you're going to do for your search engine optimization. So today we're going to talk about duplicate content, canonical URLs. We're going to talk about the importance of mobile for search engine optimization. We're going to talk about schema data, and we will talk about video and SEO. So duplicate content is where you have one of two situations. Either you have two websites that have the same content on them, and I don't necessarily mean exactly the same throughout the entire website. It could be that there's a blog post on a website that's the exact same content as another website. And then there's also duplicate content within your own website, which is much more common, and I'll explain a little bit further on that. So Google will penalize a website that has duplicate content, but at the same time that I tell you that, I tell you to take this with a grain of salt, because there are some situations where that is not an issue. For example, on news websites where the Associated Press will put out a press release and then that same article gets put out by hundreds of websites. Well, that is not an issue for Google because it's news. So when we have duplicate content that's across multiple websites, the search engines are going to assume that that content has been stolen. Usually they're going to attribute the content to the website who had that content on it first. So like when you're building a new website or you're building a new page on your website, one of the worst things that you could possibly do is to go search in some city that's far away for a good website and take their content and go put it on your website. And unfortunately, a lot of people do that. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. You don't want to have the same content on, the exact same content on two different websites. Like I said, news websites, it's expected. Content scraper websites, kind of the same. But there is no real data on this. There's kind of there's a disconnect within the SEO community as to whether or not this is an issue. But I will tell you that on websites where we have fixed the duplicate content issues, we have watched the rankings climb. So I know for myself, actually, that there is an issue with duplicate content. And the best practice is just to have completely unique content on your website. When it comes time for a new page on your website or a new website altogether, you want to have it written specifically for you. Now, duplicate content within the same website, that is a much more common thing. And the thing is that it's typically not actually that you have duplicate content. And what I mean by that is you wouldn't have two pages on your website that have the exact same content, but usually it is a site structure problem. And it's usually with the URL of the website. So you will have a website where either the entire website or pages within that website will respond to multiple URLs. And I'm going to show you some examples of that. So if we look here at the examples I've got here, we have domain.com, we have domain.com/home, we have domain.com/index.html, and domain.com/default.aspx. Now these are all URLs that could lead to the home page of the same exact website. So you have one home page that if you typed in any of these, that same home page might come up. And that's a problem with the website, because the website should force the URL for a particular page. And in the case of a home page, I know on a website that we build, The home page just simply needs to be domain.com. We don't need a /home or index.html or default.aspx or any of that. Now, the content management system that you are using for your website, always, I say WordPress because WordPress is the most common content management system used. We don't use WordPress, we use a system called DNN. But either one of these systems, like WordPress or DNN, or any of the good content management systems out there, they're going to force this to have just one URL. So you want to go through your website, and sometimes you have to use tools to find these issues. A good tool that you could use would be Moz.com, Moz.com. It will show you if you have duplicate content issues within your website, and sometimes you have them without even knowing it because you don't realize that your website is using a combination of something like friendly URLs and the ugly URLs like we showed on the live stream that we did 2 weeks ago. So again, sometimes you have to use tools to find that. Now, a way that you can get around this if you have a website that has a site structure problem is by using what's called a canonical URL. Now, a canonical URL is just a piece of metadata that is put into the website, and depending on the system that you're using, there's going to be different ways that you would put this into that metadata. But it's basically telling the search engine, I don't care what link you used to get to this page, this is the link for that page. And that is sometimes the easiest way to fix a problem with duplicate content within the same website where there's a website structure problem. Because when I put this, for example, on the home page of our website, then the search engine now knows that this is the URL that I want you to use for my website no matter what. And one of the examples that I did not give you there is that if you have your URL with the www and you also have it without it, then that causes a problem. Now, certainly your website, somebody should be able to get to your website whether they use the www or not. But in our case, we have our website set so that it uses the www. And if you go to fivestonesmedia.com without typing in www, it's going to take you here and it automatically puts that www in there. And that's done through a redirect. So you want to make sure that you don't have an issue with that also. So go to whatever your website's domain is, try it with the www and try it without it, and see if it redirects you, or if when you get there each time, when you look up in the bar at the top of your browser, does it show you, the www when you typed it in, or without it when you didn't type it in. I hope I'm making that clear. I'm confusing myself on it, honestly, but it's you want the website to respond to only one of the two. And make sure that your canonical is the same as whichever one you've chosen for the website to actually be. The other thing about a canonical is you can really mess up a website by using this in the wrong way. You don't want to manually put a canonical URL on something like your blog page, because most content management systems now, the web address never changes for the main blog page with the listing. It's all done dynamically. But if you put that canonical URL on the blog page, and then you have a blog, like in our case, that might be fivestonesmedia.com/why mobile is important for SEO, then the canonical URL for that is still going to be our fivestonesmedia.com/blog. And now all of our blog pages are not going to get indexed. So you have to make sure that you're using this properly. If you have any questions about the way that you're using it in your website, feel free to ask me about it, post in the comments or whatever. And the way that you can see this on your page would be to view the source of the page to know whether or not you have canonical URLs. And usually on the browser, you're just going to right-click somewhere on your website, and there'll be an option there that says View Source, and it's going to give you a bunch of code. Well, you can use the Find feature that's usually up at the top right, and if you type in the word canonical, if it comes up, then you're using canonical URLs. If it doesn't, then you're not. All right, another thing that I wanted to talk to y'all about is schema data. Now, schema data are structured data is just a way of telling the search engines what type of content you're presenting to them. So with schema data, there's probably more than 100 different options out there for the types of schema data that you can have. And it's just, again, it's a way of telling the search engine the type of content it is. The most common thing that a small business is going to use is going to be schema data that is for a local business. And I'll show you an example of that. And I'm going to show you some code. Don't get freaked out by the code. It's a little bit easier than you would think it would be. But the first time you look at it, it could be a bit confusing. Now, this is an example of just the information about a local business that has not been wrapped in schema data. And it's got the name of the business, it's got the reviews, it's got the address, the phone number, the web address, the hours, the categories that it falls into, the price range. In this case, it's a restaurant, so it's got the price range there, and then whether or not they take reservations. Well, we can help out the search engines by telling them what each little piece of this information is. And again, it's usually going to be done like on the contact page of your small business. But this is what it looks like once you wrap it with all of this data. And I don't expect you to know how to go in and do all of this, but it is something that you do need to know about. So when we look up here, we can see that the type of item is that it's schema.org, and it's actually a restaurant listing. We've got, the item prop here is the name. This one is going to be the review rating. As we continue down the page, we'll see that we're telling the search engine that here's the address. And we break it down even more by showing them the street address, which you can see right here is the 1901 Lemur Avenue. The address locality, which is going to be the city, we can see Sunnyvale right here, and then the address region, which is going to be your state, is California, and then the postal code being the 94086. So you're literally telling the search engine what every piece of this data that you're giving them is. And it's a great way to be able to get the proper information for your business out to the search engine, and also many of the directory listings. If you followed us on our local SEO, you know about these directory listings. A lot of the directory listings will get their information from schema data that's on a website. They have their spiders that crawl the website, and if there's schema data, then they will pull that in as the correct information for your business. So, as we go down the page, we got the telephone number, the hours, the type of food that they serve because it's a restaurant, and then the price. So not only do they have this for local businesses and for restaurants, but they also have this for blog posts. They also have it for videos, and I'm going to show you an example of videos that have this. You can do this for events, and the search engines will actually, like on things like events and on videos, they will pull all that information and they will make your listing stand out when they're showing someone a search result. And I'm going to show you that in just a second. So schema data, you can find out more information about schema data at schema.org. You can find out all the different types of information that they have out there. Another big one is going to be e-commerce, an item that you would have on your website that you wrap in all the schema data with the item image and the item title and the price of the item and the description of the item, and you're telling the search engine again what each piece of that information actually is when you use that schema data. So check out schema.org and see what all kind of options they've got there. All right, so another thing that I want to talk to you about is video and how video is good for search. Now, with video, YouTube is now the second largest search engine in the world. It's owned by Google. You will notice that a lot of times when you're doing a search, that videos will come up in the tops of the searches, especially if you're looking for how to do things. But in many, many cases, even beyond that, when you're doing a search, video is often one of the first or second or third results that shows for whatever it is that you're searching for. So we're going to talk about self-hosted video, and then we're going to talk about video like on YouTube or Vimeo or something like that. So here are two examples of search results that came up when doing a search about search engine optimization. And this one, you'll notice, is on YouTube, and this one is on a website. Now, Self-hosted video is really nice because when somebody clicks on that link, they're actually going to go to that website and not to YouTube. That's not always the most practical thing for you to do. You've got to have a server that's got really good bandwidth to be able to serve videos, because when people are watching those videos, if they're buffering, they're not streaming well, they're not going to continue to watch. So, I still like using something like YouTube or Vimeo, but where you can do self-hosted video, that's great. The thing is, if you use self-hosted video, you want to have all the little pieces wrapped in schema data, because that is why this self-hosted video shows up exactly the same as the YouTube one does, where you've got the thumbnail of the video, you've got the date that it was uploaded, you got the duration that shows, you have the in this case some data that was pulled from Google Plus, which is kind of irrelevant now, but the thing is you have to wrap your video in the same information that Google wraps theirs in on YouTube, which, believe me, they have theirs wrapped in schema data. Now, getting back to schema data, it does the same thing as what we're seeing here, where it showed a different result for the video. It'll do that same thing for an event. So, like if you have an event listing on your website, if you wrap it in schema data, when somebody does a search, rather than just having nothing but text on the page, your search results will stand out because it will show you an image if you have an image for the event. It will show you the actual dates of the event. It'll show you the description of the event, the title of the event, the location of the event, and it makes this really nice looking thing that stands out in that Google search result from all of the other results, and it's going to get clicked on at a higher rate. So that's why you would want to use schema data. Now on video, even if you are using something like YouTube and you're not hosting on your website, doing search engine optimization for videos, which is something we'll talk about in another live stream, is something that's really good, because when your videos get found online, then it still will often lead people back to your website. So to go ahead and put something on YouTube and title it properly, and within that video put links back to your website, or to make sure that they understand what business you're from, it's all going to help with your business being found. So don't feel necessarily like it has to be your actual website that comes up in the search results for you to see a benefit from it. And because of how powerful video is, you want to be creating videos for your business, especially how-to kind of stuff. It's exactly what we're doing here, and one of the reasons why we do it. And then mobile friendly. Mobile friendly, your website pretty much has to be mobile friendly in 2017 if you want it to actually perform for you. So last year around October, Google put it out to the world that the previous quarter, for the first time they had ever seen, the searches that were done on mobile exceeded the amount of searches that were done on desktop devices. Now, when at the same time that they put that out there, they said that they were going to split their search index. So they now have a search index that is specific for mobile devices and another search index that is specific for desktop. So we know that 58%, which this was in October of last year, so I'm sure it's higher now, we know that 58% of searches are being done on mobile devices. We know that Google has a search index that is specific to mobile devices. So when somebody is on a mobile device, remember, over half of the people who are searching, and they are searching for whatever it is that your business provides, if they're not on a mobile device, or if they are on a mobile device and your website is not mobile friendly, your website is not going to come up in those search results. So you're missing out on over half of the possible searches that would be relevant to your business. So you need your website to be mobile friendly. And when you do, if there are no other options, if there's not mobile results for them to show, then your website may make it into that mobile index. But for the most part, it's not going to happen. Now, in this search that I did right here, you can see that in the in the meta description, or right before the meta description, it will say mobile friendly, and you'll see that the top 3 results show that they're mobile friendly, and then the last one down at the bottom was not mobile friendly. So you can tell without a doubt they're giving preference to the websites that are mobile friendly. There's also a lot of statistics out there that show that if someone goes to a website on a mobile device and the website is not mobile friendly, that they will leave and go find another website that is mobile friendly. So you instantly lose out on business when your website is not mobile friendly. It is more important than it has ever been, and it's going to continue to get more and more important. So that's basically the presentation that we've got for today. Next week, we're going to continue on Thursday, as always, as we get deeper and deeper into search engine optimization. If there's something specific that you're wanting to learn about, please, make leave us a comment, and I will cover it. If you've got any questions or anything, we will answer them in the meantime. And we appreciate you being here and watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Thursday at 11 o'clock.